Divine Krystar family, I'm so very honored and happy to get to welcome our fellow flame holder, Matevz, to be with us here today. As a multidimensional trailblazer, truly who has traveled the grids of the earth, we are having the opportunity to dive into truly getting to understand our inner flame. And so honored in this very moment, Matevz, to begin to connect with you today. So I just want to say welcome, 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 and thank you so much for honoring me with this conversation today.
Well, thank you, Becca, for having me and your time and interview. Usually I'm on your side, so I'll take another three deep breaths and we can start.
I love that. Well, I want to just introduce a little bit, just kind of some of the information from your websites, your amazing websites that I want to dive into today. Matevz is a conscious explorer, a truth seeker, and a blue flame holder walking a path of remembrance, healing, and sacred service. Originally from Slovenia, his journey has taken him across over 40 countries, including 15 years in Vietnam. And he now finds himself and is sharing this beautiful transmission today from the beautiful energy of Greece. He's a creator of the platform Blue Magic 777 and a living archive of multidimensional insights, a place where science and spirit converge, where personal stories open, doorways open, and awakening happens, where ancient remembrance is woven into a map of our consciousness. Matevz has a podcast where he's been hosting some of the most beautiful beings on the planet who share from multidimensional perspectives, expanding conversations through science and spirituality. He's also a certified Lightkeeper healing practitioner working with high frequency Lightkeeper and Arcturian energies to assist in emotional, physical, and spiritual restoration. But even more than all of these titles and all of these experiences, Matevz carries the radiant essence of someone who is deeply living his awakening. His presence is humble, sincere, and deeply anchored in service. And Matevz, I am so deeply honored to be able to have you and welcome you for this conversation today as we get to dive into some of these conversations. I'm sure I could go more because there's so many amazing things, but I really want to just start off for those that haven't met you yet. Really, if you wanted to just describe your current path that you're on, I know you're in Greece right now. As far
Yeah.
as the intention of the work that you're doing, introduce yourself a little bit to everyone as just far as where you are on the path right now. I know it's a big one.
Um, wow, yeah, I was actually, if you, I was thinking about if you're gonna ask me this question, I was like, how to start this one. Yeah, I'm currently in Greece. At 45, I actually decided to join after some months in Albania, where I took some time off after 2, 3 years of going deep into personal healing, where we can get into that a little bit later, but right now, after all that healing and a lot of personal things that happened in those 2 years since I came back from Vietnam to Slovenia, I took some 3, 4 months in Albania. I traveled through Serbia, stopped with my friends for a while, a day in Montenegro, and then about 4 months I was staying in Albania, where I was just like basically taking my time after all of that healing, personal healings that I went through. A lot of people call it the dark nights of a soul. That was not my first one that I found that too, and where I met all of where I started in those times. Also, the podcast met the my mentor Dragan, who's the Lightkeeper, and we can touch that a little bit later. So that was like a lot of these things that also everything that you read came together. But currently, I'm in Greece, where I joined this World Packers program, and you have like these projects where you exchange your time and work for accommodation and food. And so I'm on a beautiful beach, kite surfing place and food place, and they do all of these different sports activities and like that. So I've been here for 2 months, and yeah, so here I am currently. Let's say the short answer to your question would be living my new life. Yeah. Let's call it like that. A
Ah,
new journey. And doing my podcasts and articles and healing and uh, and whatever I did before, put it on the side and yeah, like
mm.
that.
And that just makes me think there's so many individuals that really have kind of this idea of like, oh, well, I'd love to do these things, or I'd love to maybe spend more time on my healing, my websites or the podcasts or the things that maybe they're guided to do. And this is amazing that you're sharing this transmission right now of that it is possible. You're literally sitting in an incredibly beautiful place. And
Yeah,
realizing that we're coming into a time of learning how to exchange energy on the planet a little bit differently. So I definitely want to dive into that a little bit more as you share about some of your travels. And let's kind of dive into this because you mentioned the dark night of the soul, and you'd mentioned
yeah.
something in your website that there was a turning point in 2007 that really started your conscious journey. So let's kind of start to step backwards because I do want to dive in a little bit to some of your really unique experiences in your childhood. But when you were talking about that in your website about 2007, what really kind of like pushed you into this path of really traveling and what you're doing?
Before, let me just t go a little bit. I'll give you my childhood and then
Perfect.
2007 and then Vietnam and everything. Like, and you can ask me those questions like more in detail later, but let me just give you like so. I always knew there's like since I was young. Even my mom told me, man, you were telling me things that just sounded crazy, right? Um, so when I was 5, I have 8 hours of missing time. Okay. And this is true story. I confirmed with my parents, and they were like, so I just went missing. The only memory I have is being on one side of the intersection waiting for a green light, and about 7, 8 hours later on the other side of the same intersection waiting for a green light. Just this time I was completely like just dirty and torn apart, like my clothes. And my dad even called a police. Like they were like they came, a friend, personal friend, who was interrogated real criminals, and I was 5. And they were like, "Where were you?" I said, "Like, oh, I was there." They were like, "No, you're not, because we were there." So they asked me several times, "You were there?" I'm like, "Yes." "No, you were not. We were there." So I was like, I just didn't tell. So they called him to actually interrogate me as a 5-year-old, like adult. Yeah, because I was like, I'm not telling you where I was, right? And the guy's like, give me 15 minutes, I'll do it. He came after 30 minutes out and he's like, oh my God, I never seen this. He's not crying. He's just like, he's not giving up where he was.
Wow.
So and then there's like, I just want to give you my key points because they're going to lead to healing. And then I had a lot of like night, how do you say, moonwalking during the nights.
Mhm.
And,
Sleepwalking?
sorry?
Sleepwalking?
Sorry, yes, sleepwalking.
I,
Yes,
I like
sleepwalk.
moonwalking.
Yeah, it's like sleepwalking. And there were cases where I just came to living room and the TV was off, and I was just like, "Look, look, they're coming, they're coming." And my parents saw because we were watching a movie that with the planes or whatever. And then the second thing is like I had nightmares, really, really nightmares for between 7 and 9. Like, I mean, these were like daily nightmares where just same, always the same, right? And at 12, I had only one time, what even the doctors don't know why, uh, a grand mal epileptic seizure.
Okay.
Okay. So I healed it myself, actually. I didn't know at that point. I was taking medicine, so the people won't say that I was taking 4 years medicine checker. But at that time, I did one thing that I didn't know until I read about, oh my God, one of my favorite people. I forgot about his name now. Um, Doctor. He'll come back to me. He proven this is true. So I was like doing like because I was 12 and they told me you will never be able to swim, you will never be trained, you will never be drive because of I had the biggest at that point epileptic seizure called grand mal.
Mhm.
So they're like the way they explained to me, we know 500 of them, you had the biggest one.
Wow.
So they told me like when I was 12 or 13, they told me like you will never be able to swim, drive a car, exercise, box, you like basically nothing. And I'm like, I don't accept that. So every time I took a pill, I was like, I will follow the rules. I will take this for 4 years, but after I'm done, I will, I'm completely healthy and I will do everything that everybody, normal people do. And that was my mantra. That was like I didn't know at that time Bruce Lipton. Oh, here we go.
Gotcha.
He proven the he proven that with your thought and intention, you change your cells and DNA and everything it changes. So basically, I was doing that for 4 years, and I was just like, yeah, okay, cool. I'll follow everything, and yeah, I never happened again after that. So
Can I ask you a question? At
yeah,
7 to 9 years old, those nightmares, since they were happening so over and over and over
yeah,
again, do you have a
always.
recollection? Do you remember what
Oh
kind
yeah, it was always down the slope or hill to cliff, and I couldn't save my parents or my friends.
of?
So it was always the same. Yeah. So it was, and at 15, with all that was happening at home, I was like, I'm gonna do a suicide. And when I was really ready to do it, the voice came and was like, I was just like ready to cut my veins. I'm like, I'm done with this. I didn't know why, because I was a very positive person, very proactive, very like, I was just like, I just was just a pain here, right? And I was like, okay, I'll do it. And this voice comes, you want to call them angels, higher conscious, guardians, whoever, God, love one, doesn't matter. And it was like, if you do that, you will have to come back to Earth and it's going to be twice harder than it's now. And that scared me more than situation. And I was like, in a second, I was out and I stood up and I said, okay, I don't know why I'm here, why I'm in even this position, why I want to do that, but I will figure out and I will never do this again. And since then, I was like, okay. And I always had big possibility for manifestation, which at some point just on a thinking about stuff it happened and it really scared me. And I shut it down. And now we coming and then I went to, different corporate stuff and work and all of that. And in 2006, I collapsed. I was just like I became workaholic because of all of the things I decided like I'm gonna be workaholic because if I go in drugs, because I didn't understand myself, right? So there was so much pain, so much all of that that I didn't understand what's going on. I was so different, always saw the world a different. Whatever they sold me, like church, like religion, I'm like, I don't buy this. The news, they never, the world didn't make sense to me. It didn't, right?
Yeah.
And in 2006, I was like, I'm done with my country. I can't be here. I always wanted to travel. And I was like, okay, I'm leaving. So I went to Greece, ended up in Vietnam after traveling in Thailand, Laos, Vietnam. And I came there for 1 day and stayed 15 years. And in 2007, I started reading David Icke.
Hmm. Oh, wow. Oh,
Oh, yeah.
you went
And
deep
I'm
with
like,
that.
huh?
You went deep fast.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know it. Like, I'm like, my friends were telling me, my friend told me when I was 20 about chemtrails, and I was like, yeah, whatever. You know, I have this survival mode. I don't have time for this right now. And then I was just like reading, and I was like, oh wow. And I said, like, if this is 10% of true what he's saying,
Mhm.
and it just like made sense. Like I just had a feeling, and then you go down the rabbit hole, and all of that just opened a lot of questions and more interesting stuff, and how the system works. And yeah, and now I'm where after all of this time I came to your website, right? Where all these upgrades of this knowledge came with what you're showing us. And you always say you're a library, and that's the part why I'm here, because there was a lot of people that you when you're searching, you meet a lot of people, and then their ego comes up, and they're like, I'm the I'm the god, let's call it like that. And they're like, okay, I'm running away now.
Yeah.
So that's what I like the most about you, because you have all this knowledge you're putting together, and you can choose what resonates with you. And it's like, and the why I like your library and I do your courses is like because you explain to me what I'm doing. It's not like, oh, hey, do this because I say so, but it's like, okay, I'll take 2 hours. You explain to me why, where comes this, what a meditation or whatever we're doing. So this is kind of upgrade for me now of all that 20 years of of researching. Now we go to the real history, and maybe uh, because the key awakening for me happened while I was at doing your meditations and talking to Amber and so on.
Wow, that's amazing.
Uh,
Well, I'm going to backtrack you a little bit because there were
go, go, go.
really amazing things you just said. And, I want to go back kind of maybe between 12 to 15 years old. And
Mhm,
it really sounds like you were starting to have maybe kind of like awareness of what was coming or premonition types of things. There was a sense of, at that moment, you were saying there was a lot going on at home, and you were just like, I'm out of here. I don't want to be here anymore.
mhm,
And I can completely resonate with that. I think there's a lot of us that have gotten to those moments and felt that, but there always feels like a very divine hand that kind
mhm.
of pauses that and really kind of clicks us onto a different path. But I was curious because you alluded to that there was an awareness of what was going on or what was coming, and that there was a sense of not really wanting to go into that and wanting to shut it all down. Do you remember some of the stuff that you were tapping
Well, the
into?
thing is, are you talking about like how I felt the stuff, or like, because for me, like, even at home we were doing like from flowers remedies and teas. I went to energetic points all my life. I don't know if you meant that, but like for me, it's really natural to feel stuff like all my life. I just didn't understand it.
Hmm.
And perception, and like I'm still able, I'm just not doing it. But I was able to go into people's, like, I will give you an example that I always give to my friends. It's like I was at a dinner with the family, 7, 8 people, and literally I was so focused, and I just went into their, let's call it now, timelines, or because I was like, what I want to do in my life. And I just went one by one, and it's like, oh, he's doing this. And I just saw their whole lives. And I was like, oh, that's natural. Like everybody sees that, like, right? I didn't know. And yeah, yeah, that was from very early age. Like even like I could pr predict, and I know that was also the part of the survival mode when you predict, your brain start predicting because you don't feel safe, and you're in survival mode from very early age. So during this healing that I had couple last past 2 years, I learned that I've been told that, like, yeah, I've been in survival mode since I was 5. And how then I learned that, yeah. So since then, I don't trust anybody. I didn't trust anybody. I always was on alert. So then I learned how your brain start working like that, how you start predicting things because you need to be safe. So you developed automatically. So based on if somebody listening this and knows better than this, maybe you know, but in this kind of cases, two personality becomes an empath or narcissist. Basically, you can go. This is from my knowledge so far. I'm maybe wrong, but once you're in survival mode, there are two things. So you decide you're gonna do good things or bad things, or you're gonna be narcissist. And I remember when I had to decide or I'm gonna do good because I can go in both ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
It makes sense what I'm saying now.
no, it absolutely does. And I think,
Okay.
there is absolutely there is ways that we learn to survive on planet.
Mm,
And
mm,
at the same time, I also want to recognize that a lot of the crystalline beings, a lot of the what we would call the starseed beings, or those that have come
mm,
really for this particular time in timeline divergence. I think, the word ascension gets used a lot, and really, in some ways, what it is it's timeline probabilities and possibilities
mm,
where we can move. And so your experiences from very young of the particular dreams that you've been having, even the missing time and these kinds of things, those are completely unique and special beyond just having maybe been in a survival mode.
yeah.
So I feel like in some ways the survival mode might have already enhanced some of your natural or maybe hybrid abilities that you have. And I'm just saying this kind of just as a connection into the energy because I really feel that your ability to sit there and tap into each individual's potential timeline or life as a probability
Mm,
wasn't just a contemplation from a kid, but potentially something a little bit more than that, that your empathy is able to tap into the probabilities. And even just getting drawn to David Icke so early on is going to show that. And the reason why I say this is because your story, as far as that age of 15, when you're like, "Fine, I'm out of here. Let's just end this," and hearing that voice come in and say, "Great, fine, but I wouldn't do that because," I've actually heard that from a couple of other individuals who had very similar situations that they could feel empathically and just know probabilities of timelines. Not so much that they knew that they were doing that, but that they could just see someone and kind of see the path where that energy was going.
mm,
And it was almost like an awareness to what was unraveling on the earth. And that is really what I wanted to highlight because I think there's a lot of individuals that have maybe had some similar things that have happened, but we tend to sometimes go like, "Oh, well, that's just because."
mm.
But I feel like that voice you tapped into, like if even if you were to tap into it now, do you still kind of get like a sense that you can hear it or remember it in your consciousness?
Uh, Why I said this all before you asked me this is because from age of 20 until I left Slovenia,
Hmm.
I kind of turned it off.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, let me see. Okay, do I want to be in corporate world? Is this for me? Okay, it's not. Okay. So I was just like, I became workaholic because I was like, I'm gonna work my ass out of this situation. Okay. So that was it. So why is important 2007? Because not just that I started understanding the world, but later also in Vietnam, also I shut it down for a while. But um, these voices, this voice, it comes now as in a different form.
Mm.
Because when I was younger, like I didn't even know, but I saw orbs, and I didn't know. It's like, oh, I see orbs, and
Wow.
like I relearned this like 2 years ago that oh, you see orbs, and I'm like, I've been seeing them all my life, but they came back now. Like, like I saw them all when I was a child, and they look at me like other people. I'm like, what? It's true. It's like, and it's like, doesn't make me better. Like, I'm understanding now. What was that? I didn't before, right? So it was like a lot of going on. So, and also the missing time was not just that one. I was in Vietnam also. It's like, uh, I mean, I have several. That was like the big one where I'm missing. I have so many times when it was like an hour or two missing.
Mhm.
And I can give you example, like I was driving motorbike in Vietnam and sunny without a cloud, no rain, just super sunny. And I'm driving and suddenly it's straight 90 degrees down. Is it like 90? Yeah. So it's like this. It's like somebody draw a rain, straight line down. It's not like that. It's just like straight down. And I go through it, and okay, 20 seconds later, I came out on the other side, sunny again. Okay. I come home and it's like, and I'm looking, sun is a little bit down. And I look at my time and I'm like, where did 1 hour go? And I have this kind of stuff 3, 4 times in Vietnam happen, at least. And I can give you that what I learned in the last 2 years is that basically the way explained to me by mentor is like, I agreed before I came here to have trips inside.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that basically I was like, oh, now it makes sense. Like, because I just learned like you have good ones and bad implants, right? And I was like, I do have good ones or bad ones. Like, no, you actually agreed to do this. And I'm like, well, next time give me a fine print, like I'm jo- I'm joking, but like, yeah, I just learned that this and this was it. And then he sent me a message from my where I'm from, and now we can go into the QHHT sessions where slowly they brought me to when I was ready, that I found out, because I was asking for a long time what happened when I was 5, and through QHHT sessions that I had now 5, and one I had a couple of months ago, and before I had in 2016 and 17 I had 3,
Mhm.
in all together 12 hours of recordings. So everything I say I can show people is true, but they took the yeah. So yeah.
Well, let's dive into that. And as
Yeah.
I'm sitting here listening to your story, I have to kind of smile because I really feel Greece is a kind of a transformation vortex for you.
It's the second time that is transformation, or that I go through transformation. I was thinking about it a
Uh,
couple of days ago. Yeah.
yeah, because you were saying you were in Greece and then went to Vietnam, and let's just go ahead and dive right into that. I'd love to hear some more about these stories. So, as you started to explore later through QHHT. Let's
Hmm.
just start within that. And as you started to get to unravel like what your mission was or what you're doing or where you went even, I'll let you just go ahead and share how you
Yeah,
experienced
it's
it.
not really like that. It's not really that I was like, oh, I have this mission, and I'm like, I try to heal myself and understand myself. I never had like this, oh, I'm gonna do the healing center, oh, I'm gonna do the podcast, oh, I'm gonna do this, oh, I'm gonna now that I do Lightkeeper healing. When I started just before I could hear, when I started doing the first certificate or initiation and you learn and all of that, I asked my mentor. I said like, do I have to help people or I can use just this for me? I mean, if I do all the 5 certificates, do I have to help people or it's okay just for me? And she's like, no, you don't have to help people, but you will want it to. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Okay, so there was never so because of all this and anxiety, depression, and not understanding myself, and traumas and all of that comes with life. In 2000, after set, so 2000, what now is 20? Yeah, 2007. I started with Ike. I went, and then and I always knew about psychedelics, right? But it was that fear that they put us in a head, like, oh, it's drugs, is that like, and because of epileptic seizure, I was very scared of taking anything, so it doesn't come back. I don't take medicine, I don't take pills, I don't take anything unless I really have to, just because of that. So I don't put any shit into me like from pharmacy unless doctor tells me you're gonna die, then I will take it. So I started exploring um, psychedelics, and I was always drawn to that. The natural medicine, I was always drawn in from early stage. I went to, people working with crystals when I was 13. I went to energetic points when I was 14 and stuff like, energy, different points in mountains we have in Slovenia and all of that. I was like, for me, it was like, meh, normal stuff, right? And I started doing it for me. So it's like, okay, I I tried to kill myself. What's wrong with me? Why is this like? Why do I have this anxiety? So after more than almost a year studying all this, I took in three nights in a row 5 grams of mushrooms.
Wow.
Yeah, I
Okay.
just went like, this is my reasoning. I was test bunny, like I was like, I'm reading this, I'm watching podcasts, I'm reading books, I'm reading all this research. I know like in Peru and all of that is, going for centuries. I'm like, this sounds like cool. Like, okay, 5G is like kind of hero stuff, like this kind of help. So my reasoning was like, okay, I'm so fucked up, so much happening. So one night won't probably do. Let me do three so I can cut that. So the healing can go fast, right? That
Well,
was me.
just for everybody that may or
Yeah,
may not know, 5 grams is like a
it's a lot.
hero's dose.
Yeah, it's a hero dose.
It is a see God moment.
Yeah, it's 8 hours of it, right? So I'm in my room. I don't even know like to put intention. I don't know that it's better to be in nature. I don't know anything. I'm just testing on myself, right? And I'm like, "Nah, nothing special happened in all these 3 days." I'm like, nobody came, no visuals, nothing. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Maybe I didn't took the right ones. Well, on Monday, that was Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday when I took on Monday, 3 days after, I wake up and I'm like, something is different. And I didn't know until then how life without anxiety looks like. My anxiety was gone. My depression or whatever, my brains were completely reset. Now I know. I was like, oh wow, this is how normal people that don't have this live. Like, or this is how brains normally work. And I wrote all of that to John Hopkins University. Yeah.
Wow.
Then it came back 3 months later. But then I learned that because of my lifestyle, because of the stress and everything. So that's why I got into this. And then I tried DMT at 37. And I was like, that sounds good. That. Let me test that on myself. So me and my friend, who's like a real chemist, we did that all alone. I was like, I trust only you with this stuff. So if you want to do it, and he was into this, like, I will, I will test for both of us, but you're gonna do it because you're the only one I know I'm gonna get. You're not gonna give me some bad stuff, right?
Right.
And again, studying a lot of videos, a lot of because it's not like I was like a superhero. Like I was like, yeah, you can do this. Like this is I had to prepare myself mentally. I had to know everything what I'm doing. I had to feel comfortable. It was really preparation here. It's not like I'm just gonna take it. And when I finally did a third time breakthrough, it showed me like oh, Matt, you need to learn how to love yourself. And I'm like, what? And like it goes like it's 7 to 10 minutes. The ones that don't know, there are two types of DMT. This one is let's call it normal. I forgot. It's on the website. And then you have that you take it from frog, I think. It's called Bufa. It's
Is it
5 MOT.
Dafa?
Yeah, that is a different one. So I take the, let's call it normal one. Um, and it showed me it's such an amazing trip because I had a couple of them. Then I was like, oh, this is fun, let me do it again. But this one was the profound one. This one, looking back, started a real change. And it took me on a trip where it was like a movie, like a film for old films for taking photos.
Mhm.
And one film was like, it could, I had a feeling I was there 10 years. And the next picture was like 2 minutes and 10, 1 year and so on. And I don't remember anything. And in the end, let's say same voice when I was 15 came and it says like, Matt, you need to learn how to love yourself. And I'm like, it would be good to say thank you. And I'm like, yeah, thank you. I understand. And I think it's the over trip and I want to get up and I want to get up. And the voice goes literally, you don't get it. Or everything, each feeling to every second to millisecond the same. And in the end, again, Matt, you need to learn how to love yourself. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, thank you. And he's like, yeah, now you get it. And that's it. And for 3 days, it shredded me. I was lost. I didn't know what happened, what's going on. Of course, it had to break me on pieces. Now I know. So I called Teresa, who's now not with us anymore, and who was my QHHT therapist at that time. And I said, "This happens." Like, no, no, no. It just brought. It's like it's okay. It had to shredder your shield. Like now the healing can start. And I had to literally type in Google and like how to love yourself. What that means actually.
I love that.
Yeah, no, honestly, like I was like, I was so embarrassed. Like, let me not tell this to anybody. I don't know how to do this. And
Oh,
this is why I started, like, this is why I do what I do now, is because I want to build a bigger picture. And podcast is to talk to interesting people that I wanted. And the website is so when I find a puzzle, I put it there so people can find it. Maybe they needed something like it's gonna click them, help them to go try this or find a way to help themselves and do the research. And yeah, so it was never like I want to help humanity or whatever. It's like no, it's just one thing led to another.
wow.
Yeah.
I can absolutely resonate with that. And I think everyone listening to this is gonna have a real heartstring that really feels that. Because I really do feel in a lot of ways that it isn't about this big heroic mission, that a lot of times we're just learning how to survive here. So we're
Yeah.
going through journeys of literally learning how to clear away a lot of times the early childhood traumas, the
Mm.
depression, sometimes the suicidal ideation, and these kinds of things, and realizing that there is something that tugs at our soul and our heart that never allows us to cross that line, obviously, because we're here, right?
Yeah.
And but within that there is going to be exploration paths that each of us go down, that each one of these paths I think is profound, because it's like it's your awakening, it's your places where you're having the aha of like the vulnerability, which thank you so much for sharing that, because you're absolutely, I just even though you're like, man, I never wanted to say this to anybody, that I had to look up how to love myself, but
Yeah.
I would say that on some level that's actually more common than we've been willing to admit.
Oh, it's much more common. I learned. I just thought at that time was like, and it's like even basic things, right? Like, okay, you are worth of like new clothes, or or a good food. And I was like, oh, my self-image was at that time was much better than was before. But I was like, still, I was like, oh, that means like, and setting boundaries, and it was like, oh, that's okay. It's so much, they're like little things, but they for me were very big things. Sorry, I have a lot of mosquitoes here. Just they started coming last today, it looks like. So it's
Don't
okay.
like those.
Have you? So yeah, they're like, it was like, I mean, look, I was not comfortable talking about this even a year ago. So now I'm okay with it. I don't have a uh, problem with it anymore. But even a year ago, it's like, nah, I'm not gonna really talk about it too much. So,
Yeah,
but
yeah. Well, and it's just kind of amazing to me. It's like it I see this pattern a lot for individuals. It feels like at a young age you were kind of drawn to leave home, break away from everything that you knew. Greece maybe being a synchronicity or a symbol in your life that says, hey, every time you land here, some new big adventure is starting. But that Vietnam was your place. It was your place that you had maybe kind of the awakening to the mystical or just the more
no,
up just outside of yourself or
no, no. Um, Looking back, Vietnam was my freedom that
Mhm.
I never had. Vietnam was the childhood I never had for some time. Vietnam was, which I'm very, very grateful for the 15 years there, for everything, for experience, for good, bad, for that I stayed there. Vietnam was a place where I with side job with the job plus I was able to build something and create a business and stuff like that. So Vietnam was a lot of just going for the goals that I had I set up for myself. Just completely from financial point of view or learning point of view, figure out being a business person and figure out what I really want to do and stuff like that. So it gave me opportunity to have a decent life and something to create. Plus, living for me coming from 2 million country of 2 million, for me living in a city of 10 to 15 was always a dream. In my head was always, oh, I'm gonna be in New York, but hey, you know, I was there. So, and in the end, was I mean, in the end, between he gave me options to find out QHHT, to find all of this that I did on the side on my own, right? And one thing that I found there was Falun Dafa. It's one of Qigongs. It's people can put Falun Dafa in there, and they're gonna find all of this kind of. It's a secta. It's all of that. And the way I found it was like they were doing practice outside of my apartment, and I was really not good mood. And every time I passed by, I was just like, I feel amazing. And I was not even doing the exercise. And I was on a motorbike for 2 seconds, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm feeling amazing. And then my energy went down again after I left. So I was like, one day I'm like, what are you guys doing? And they're doing like these practices with the Chigo, like,
Uh-huh.
oh, we're doing Falun Dafa. And they're like, here's the book for free. Oh no, they were just like, come join us. And I'm like, "Oh, it's free, just come. We'll teach you." And I'm like, oh, let me see this for a week. And they're like, oh, first week it's gonna clear your body, you're gonna have headaches, diarrhea. I'm like, oh, and everything happened. And then I was doing for about 6 months every day for 2 hours. And it's clearing karma, it's energizing your chi, your chakras, connecting to Milky Way, opening your third eye. It's everything in one, right? It's all of that. And then was like, I don't even know about this. Like, because when you ask me about this third eye and all of that, I'm like, it just happened. And like one meditation, I just went like, it just opened here. and I just different worlds open like every 15 seconds they changed. And then one they look at me and I'm like, oh, you can see me. Oh shit. Okay. So then I stopped. I was like, oh, you can
They
see me.
can.
Like,
They can see you too.
yeah, and I didn't even know. But then I read it why in one of your courses, like they can actually see it. Like, oh yeah, they saw me because I got scared. Like they were on a horses, like these ancient warriors for some reason. And they just like the warrior. I was like looking from, and they saw me, and he looked at me, and I'm like, oh, okay, let me stop. So yeah, it's somebody is doing to qigongs. They should definitely check this one and read their books because it's so much information in
Mhm.
that is just amazing. Like just not just about the practice itself, but just in general, it's amazing book. So if anybody into that, check it out. So
Wow, that's amazing. And I think it's just a testament too that based on our own blueprint and our own geometry, I would say, that found you because you have
Hmm.
special resonance to it. And I think it's amazing. I actually haven't heard of that before, so I'll have to check it out for sure. But
Yeah.
it does, and so Vietnam was kind of your place to find yourself to really
Hmm.
grow, but then it also kind of brought some of these tools to you while you were there too.
Yeah. I, I always say I grow there as a man. Let's say a little that.
Yeah, I like
It
that.
was my, and yeah, I mean, these are experiences that nobody can take me, and build it something that even to this day I can use it if I want to. So from business point of view, let's call it like that. But yeah, so very proud of those. That I was not always proud because there was a lot of failures, but now that I'm looking back, I'm super proud of that time. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I know just your nudges to keep growing, obviously, looking for the libraries of wealth and still exploring with QHHT, and you got drawn into this work, and it's the light worker healing
Yeah.
technology. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that? Because it sounds like you mentioned a little bit where you're like, I'm going to do this for me. I'm still just
Yeah.
healing myself, but that it started to nudge and it's also started to awaken some other things that are about. You've mentioned a few times a healing center and these kinds of things with the podcast. So tell for those that don't know what this is, would you
Yeah.
share a little bit about that?
Sure. Well, actually, the whole thing, the healing center I got now that I call it download or, whatever people wants to call it or from Guardians. So it just like it came to me and like it was like it's like you have this is what you're gonna do, podcast like the whole thing that I do, right? And actually, healing came later because first I came to through experience, I came to Dragan Kokalovic, who's from Slovenia, who developed this through Arcturians and AT civilizations, and he got these symbols. So I'll explain it. But I met him actually doing a podcast with him, so I interviewed him, and I actually went to healing, Theta healing, and to him in these 2 periods of high intense healing of traumas and explaining me things like so he explained to me what happened when I was 5, um, why certain things in Vietnam happened, why this person had to die, and where I learned this connection to past lives and karmas and how you meet people in this life because you agreed to in previous lives and like that. So and then I was like, oh, let me do Lightkeeper healing for myself. So for continue healing, right? And about a month and a half ago, after one of your Zooms, like I always fall asleep between, not because it's boring, but just like and I get a download like, yeah, now it's time you do this for after 1 year of doing this practice, just to friends and family or practicing between practitioners. I was like, yeah, it's time you do this. Like, you're gonna do the website. You're not gonna you're gonna focus on the world. This is the price you're gonna charge, and this is how the website look. Everything in a sleep. I'm like, oh, thank you. All messages next time like this directly and clear. No, no. So, so yeah. So it's basically you work with the light with these civilizations. So it's one of the easiest techniques. It's like, so people usually know Reiki, Usui Reiki.
Mhm.
Well, it's 100,000 times stronger. And it can work from remote or one-on-one. And what they do is you help with all of this civilization. You help a person through, you don't touch it, and different symbols, symbol of love, symbol of money, forgiveness, light, whatever, right? And you just, a person needs to tell you two things. First, you need to ask them for if you're allowed to do the therapy, and they need to agree. If they say no, it doesn't matter. You can be your dying mom on a that, I'm that serious. You are not allowed to help your mom if she does not allowing you.
Yeah.
If she's dying and is like, no, I'm ready to go, and you want to save her, like, no, you cannot, because it's gonna come back to you. Yeah, it's serious stuff. You don't, it's like, and then a person tells you intentions. Is there like a health issue, is emotional, whatever it is. And the way it works, everybody sees a little bit different. But the way it is like, I don't touch it. I just, through my hands, I know exactly where I need to focus the energy. And then these symbols came like, okay, you need a light, you need protection, you need abundance, whatever. It just comes to me and it goes to you. So let me make something very clear, right? I don't heal you. I'm a, how to say, conductor of from them with the light. And all I do, I start a process that you can heal yourself. Okay, so if anybody, this is, I had experience, I can, couple of things. Anybody tells you that they can heal you, you run away. Nobody can heal you. Only you can yourself. You can have a person like me or whatever resonates with you, types of healings, but you need to show that has a good intention and all of that. And nobody can heal you. You only yourself can heal yourself. So all I do is help you on this process, unstuck energy wherever it's stuck, uh, give you a boost, let's call it like that. But it does heal. You know, you have a back pain, it's gonna go away, and things like that. So if it's more serious, people come once a month just to get energy or clear. You have people come three, 4 times, then they never come back. Some they come 10 times. It all depends, you know. Whether it helps on every level,
Yeah.
emotional, everything. So yeah,
Well, and since it was something that you were drawn to for
yeah,
yourself, you've
yeah. It's
obviously
for me.
felt some amazing experience
Yeah,
through it.
yeah. And you know, because once you test it on yourself and you feel it, you see results. You understand? You see results. That's why. And it's hard to explain these results because until you feel it, it's hard to me even explain what it is. It's just, if you tried Reiki, you know
Yeah.
what I'm talking about. If you didn't, it's hard to explain. You know, once you feel these energies, then you know.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean it's only mine, but whatever other healings are, or you took a mushroom, you know how it feels. You can't explain a trip on mushrooms to a person that never took a mushroom. It's hard.
Mm.
Yeah, you know, you see this and because it's so, or QHHT. Well, yeah, man. Yeah, you know, I went to this planet. You know, one of my past lives, I was fighting these other bad aliens. That is true that one of my helped me. So you're talking to a person ever tried it, like, oh man, you went crazy. It's not about that I just saw that and I even now I'm talking about I see this, right?
Mhm.
It's like how you felt inside. You can't explain that.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
can't. You can't, because until you feel it, do a QHHT example that you do, it's like, okay, now I felt that I was there. I know I was there because I felt in my, inside. So it's hard to explain this technique. They can read it on my website, what it is, and go into and have official website from Dragan in Slovenia in English. They can read everything they want, and if it resonates, they can call me. But uh, the results are the ones that for me was like helping people, and I can see now draw me to do this more. It's just calling. It was just called me. It's not like I was planning, honestly.
I love that. And it's so true. There is no way to really describe it. It's really kind of a cellular awakening through the experience of it, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
And mosquitoes. I do not like
yeah.
mosquitoes.
They're just they're just like, oh, free dinner right now. I'm like, yep, it's okay.
No. So I just want to ask, and I don't want you to get eaten up there, but
No, no, go ahead. It's all good. It's all good.
just in it really feels like in maybe the last couple of years there's been a quickening of energy through some of these QHHTs that you've been through, kind of the downloads of exactly how to do the website and this healing center. And I would just be curious, just kind of where all this path has led you. What are some of these visions that are coming forward, maybe to speak them out loud or maybe just to share them with what might be
Okay.
coming for others?
Well, I've been told several times that all is connected. My podcast, my website, and healing center. And I mentioned before that through all this research that I do, and I put articles and people, it's not just for other people, it's mainly for me. Like I said, I put one puzzle there. So at the moment, the stage of healing center is like this. For some reason, there will be nine healing methods as I see it for now. It might change, but as I see it now, the way I see and I understand at this moment is like this. You have people from, let's call it from 1 to 10 on a different level of consciousness. And so let's say from 1 to 3, it doesn't matter what you tell them, whatever prove you, so they will never change
Hmm.
to raise their consciousness. Maybe for whatever reason, it's not their time in this life to do that. Maybe they're not willing, doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
And then you have, let's say, from 4 to 6, you have people who are somewhere between 7, 8, 9. You have people who are already consciously awake. And number 10, they're here to awaken other people. And I'm not 10 or whatever, but so this is like, no, when we talk about 10, I mean Buddhas and people like that, right? And the ones that are already in the last, how do you say, last time here, who, and what has that with the healing? Like the way I see the healing is like I need to, well, my goal is to have the right healing methods in depends on what kind of level of consciousness you are. If that makes sense, what I'm saying, because I think that there's no one thing. It's like there's no magical pill, let's call it like that. But there are levels how to heal yourself and away, because when you expand your consciousness, you can expand your healing. And the same time goes vice versa. So let's say, based on my experience so far, definitely there's a plant-based medicine. A lot of people, this one is very tricky. From ethics, I mean, people who never tried psychedelics, if you anything remember from this podcast, remember this. And you want to try it, remember this. Who you working with, where you're working with, where the medicine comes from, and if you are ready.
Mhm.
And what's your intention here? And show respect. If you don't, this is, you really need to do your research. And why is this? Because there's like, I think this is the one that really can do in one night with all these conditions that I say, right people, right environment, you are ready, can really um, put, the way they say is like 20 years of therapy in one night. It's like, so that I think is that breaks people like, okay, expands them. And then to find this, definitely working with the energy. I work with, I'm in contact with some people that work on a different level with light and energy. Currently, I got a download 3 weeks ago what to do to continue my research. So now I'm in exploring of all the natural way of healings,
Mhm.
and I'm doing like it's gonna be article soon. I was just working today on it, but there's a lot of research I have to do at this moment. And through this research, it will come whatever. I got a couple of um, directions already, but until I do the research, that's the only things. But the goal is to kind of, if it makes sense what I'm saying right now, the level of consciousness with the right,
The right
because you have,
modality. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Because if you put me in when I was 20 to do DMT, yeah, I would go crazy. It would be too much.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
you need to be, or working with the wrong people like I did 2 years ago on MDMA. It's the first time I worked with the people on this before, it came out that they couldn't control me because luckily I'm too strong on this kind of fields of but yeah, it came out that the person who is leading this was stealing light and energy from people during you know. So this is why I'm telling this because now it's not all flowers and I don't know how was the expression in English. You need to be really careful when you're working with this kind of stuff.
Huge.
And one of the things is to set up high ethics, high level of ethics when I do this with the right people because I can't do everything alone.
Yeah. That sounds
So there will
so
be, and I'm
amazing.
exploring. I can give you. So it's because everything is already there. We just need to find it and remember it, and all technologies they've been here for centuries, probably millennia,
Mhm.
right? So with vibration, with I'm looking at Tesla coils and stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love it. I feel like this might be a whole other conversation to get to dive
Yeah,
into. Even getting the honor going into the different types of what we would call psychedelics, but really, it's really
it's
working with the neurology of the brain.
yeah.
Each one is completely different. I absolutely agree. I have my own experiences I could
Yeah.
share, and that really it is no different than if someone works with essential oils or if someone is working with flower essences or anything like this. These things are conscious beings, and I have an entire
Exactly.
theory about the psilocybin personally. I really feel they are an entire species. So we'll dive into that, I think, at some point, because I think that would be
Yeah.
a really, really fun conversation. But I get the sense that what is being guided is a real transformational place to really transform the neural processors of the brain within the human body to begin to really expand into
Mm.
the multidimensional levels of consciousness.
Yeah, the thing is, right, for me, again, there's no, this is the way, I was really surprised the way I explained to you it was like, for me, it came, while I was telling you, I was like thinking, oh my God, are you really saying this? Because it just came naturally. The thing is, again, it's just like help one and one and one and one. Why? Because once we help ourselves, all right? So if I'm it's just my case, my bad self-image, I was negative, I was all angry all the time, right? Hiding behind a workaholic and building business, whatever, right? But so my vibration when before I started this, based on Bowie's, before I started Lightkeeper healing and Theta healing and stuff, was 30,000 by Bowie's scale.
Hmm.
Okay. Now it's in billions, my energy level. Yeah. What is this? No, no, but what's the point? It's not like, oh, now I'm whatever. It's the point is that because I'm vibrating high, people, the environment around me, it's vibrating higher.
Yep.
People that realize or don't know, but I am. It's very simple. If you come during the day, you go out and you're like, oh, it's all shit and whatever, you're giving that energy. If you're not doing that, you're for opposite. So this is how you we change the vibration of surrounding.
Hmm.
First ourselves, and then automatically others vibrating higher.
Yeah.
And if more people vibrate higher, we vibe the whole things, first a little village and then the city and so on and so on.
Yeah.
And this is like how you change the world is like that people are happier. The people vibrating, I mean, if you look, why I'm also like talking about it's another story. I mean, it's another conversation completely. But if you look, people who have traumas or PTSD from war or whatever, you have all of these plant medicine that can help them in one night. It's not going to do miracles, but there are medicine there. They're like, hey, he's not gonna come back from war and kill his wife because he has PTSD or children or whatever, become homeless because he can't calm his down. We're talking about this kind of stuff too, right? It's not like just express cautions like or people that like, just wanna sleep well or deal with their whatever traumas they have and they come and like, okay,
Hmm.
that's it. Come 3 times. Okay, if that helps you, it doesn't have to that everybody's going to be like, I don't know, now the opening healing center. No, do go to bank, whatever you do, or, you know, it's just to help people get to whatever their goal is.
Exactly. And that's the beautiful thing that I
Yeah.
do feel, whether there are others getting similar downloads, it's that, the people that you came here to connect with, the healing center that is
Yeah.
being dreamed through you is going to be for the people that are looking for you or for
Yeah.
this very thing. So that's
If
where
I
we
can
all
just,
realize we all
can
have
I
to
just
start.
mention this? Sorry to interrupt you. Just mention because I wanted to say, but you mentioned what Rachel yesterday did, right? And this is one of the things that, like, I'm like, it was when I watched her presentation, I was like, you know, okay, this is the direction. And today I was working, I was like, okay, I need to talk to her because it was mentioned in my research already. So, it's already combining. So this is how these kind of all the things that Rachel does. And it's like, okay, expanding my consciousness to understand, like, okay, it can help. Everything is consciousness. Everything is, like you said, life being, everything is, you know,
Yeah, no, for those that are not
yeah,
maybe part of the flame holders or knew what we were doing yesterday, we have a divine flame holder, a Murph priestess, Rachel, that was leading us through a womb oil activation. So it was a Murph practice of activating essential oils in a very sacred way for really, the list would be endless if we got into it.
exactly.
But I just wanted to expand that to others because, again, this is where we get to recognize they all really do fit together. And that's why
Exactly.
our heart sings, we light up because we remember that all of these different things were once our natural way of life, that we used to live in harmony. So even though it might seem like, oh, I want to help the world, the statement that you're saying, I resonate with so much. It's like, well, first you got to clean up your own house if you want to think you're going to go clean up the world.
Yeah.
And, that many times people might think it's selfish if I just focus on myself, aren't I here to help others? But truly, I would just love to emphasize what you're sharing with so much love, that importance of you need to learn to love yourself.
What you just said was one of the biggest lessons I had to learn. that putting yourself first is not being selfish. You know, I forgot what is the saying, but like it's just like if you and we all did that. We all wanted to help everybody except dealing with our own house, cleaning our own house. Oh, let me help this guy or whatever. Like, we all been there. But it's true until you do, and it's never ending story, and it's always something comes up. But I always think I really do truly believe there's a point when you decide to heal or to deal with whatever you have to deal, and then there's the major part that you do it, right?
Yeah.
And then it's easier because the most of the house you cleaned, right? But it's a process. It's always a process, and it's always something that you learn about yourself. But it's if you don't, that was for me was the biggest lessons. Like I had to learn. It's and I'm still learning.
Yeah.
And it's set up boundaries and put myself first all the time. And I don't mean in selfish way, but like, okay, the question is this the best for me? Is this good? Is this situation, is this deal, if you're in a business, is this relationship the best that is for me?
Hmm. Yeah.
Is this gonna make me happy? Although this happy word is kind of uh, overused, but is this gonna make me wake up with a smile?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, go for it. No, don't do it because everybody else tells you. So I'm still learning even that, right? But that's the selfishness. It's not selfishness. It's like when you know, you could help, but you don't because you don't want to, or whatever, right? So yeah.
Oh, I was going to ask if you had a message that you wanted to share with everyone. I feel like you just tapped into that with your empathy and just totally answered that. I feel so honored. I feel like this conversation has just opened up to more, to really allowing the codes that are moving through you to start to birth into what they are meant to be for so many of us. And how can people reach you if you want to just kind of put out what are some of the platforms or what are some of the ways that people can find you if
Yeah.
they're interested in maybe getting one of these sessions or finding out more or maybe connecting to you through your podcast?
Yeah, there are two websites. One for the podcast and articles, and is bluemagic777.com, so three sevens. And the other for healing is lkhealing777.com. And they can read all of that there and yeah, contact me there. So
Perfect, perfect. And I'll have all of that in the description below.
thank you.
Uh, Mateusz, thank you so much for sharing the sacred time today. It has been such an honor to just dive into these conversations and with so much love. Thank you to everyone who has joined in and listening. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Becca, for having me, and let's do it at some point again because I could, like I said when was opposite, I was like I could do this with you for 10 hours and probably would not be enough. So thank you again.
Oh, thank you.